Okay, here's the thing. You have the Democrats on one side and the Republicans on the other side, and they all pretend to be different than everybody else. But in fact, no. Everybody in the political system are all working to the same goals. And what they do is they split the political system into two halves. The reason that they do this is to ensure that none of us are united against them. So this whole division that we see today, where nobody can even talk to anybody about politics because everyone just simply shuts down, decides that their way is right, and just sits there and listens into their echo chamber of all their friends who all have the same political view. It's to the point that I can't even talk to any of my own friends about politics because it just simply turns into, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's exactly what the people in power want. Because what this does is it keeps us from uniting with each other and focusing on all the atrocities that they're making, and such as, for instance, going against all of our liberties and taking them all back. An example of this is, for instance, the Patriot Act, or all the gun control that they all want to push all the time. So there is really no left and right. And here's a good, perfect example of this, for instance. We always think of the Republicans being pro-gun and the Democrats being anti-gun. And that's, demonstrated, for instance, with the Bill Clinton, and his assault weapons ban. And then, of course, all the Republicans, y'all go, well, see, we're pro-Second Amendment. But that's not true. When you look at, for instance, George H.W. Bush being the reason why you have a lot of these import bans on guns, where the guns have to do these weird things where some parts of the guns are made in America and some parts can be made as an import. That's a Republican thing. That wasn't even a Democrat that was doing that. So we're supposed to believe that the Democrats are the ones who are trying to take our guns away and the Republicans are the ones trying to protect our guns, when in fact neither is true. And you can really see this demonstrated recently with President Trump. And what President Trump was saying when he was at a gathering with other lawmakers was, really, to anyone who doesn't pay attention, seems to be counterintuitive, because he was all for all the ideas that the Democrats were pushing to him, and actually he was for going even further and doing away with due process, for instance, with taking your guns. But it makes sense, because the entire system is designed to keep us separated from each other, and then to make us all be subservient to everybody who's in power. We're not supposed to sit there and think about it too long. We're supposed to simply just sit on our side and then be divided from everybody else. That's why when you end up having, say, protests for guns and you have anti-protests against it, that's what they want. Because if we were to sit down together and actually realize that what's actually happening is the people who are in power are the ones who are trying to stay in power, and they're staying in power by keeping us all divided. The reason why those in power want us to not be armed as heavily as possible is because the less armed we are, the more powerful their weapons are relative to us. That's the whole reason why there's a ban on automatic weapons. The bans on automatic weapons is not about stopping you from walking into a movie theater and mowing down a whole bunch of people, because anybody with half a brain understands that the quickest way to do that would be, say, with Molotov cocktails, and there's no way to stop people from making Molotov cocktails. So, obviously, the machine gun bans have nothing to do with public safety. What they actually have to do with is ensuring that the only people with machine guns is the government. And if you ever notice that any time any gun legislation is ever pushed forward, the only ones who are exempted from it every single time is the government. Either the government directly or their cronies, the police. And I understand that, not all officers, are there to be the government cronies, but effectively that is what the entire concept of having a law enforcement agency is going to do, is that their job is to enforce the laws that are made by the people who believe that they have a right to tell us what we can and cannot have. So, in conclusion, you need to stop looking at this as a left and right and start looking at it as a them versus us. And the them is everyone who's in power, and the us is everybody else.